And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill wherever you're watching. Please make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe button as we get this channel inching it closer to 15,000 subscribers. So do us that favor. And most importantly, get interactive with the show, whether you're watching it live right now or you're watching it replay later on. We make sure we get to every single question and comment on this show. And I check all the replay comments and make sure to respond to them. So, guys, I'm your host, as always, Phil Stiefel. Sitting next to me, as always, Jason Sullivan. And we got a very special guest for the second time on this show in the history of this show. A very good friend that I've developed a friendship with through this business, Len Hochberg, one of the greats. He doesn't need an introduction. He is literally one of the best, one of the originals doing DFS golf. Len, thank you very much for joining us tonight for a few minutes. I greatly appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man.
Wow, goosebumps, literally goosebumps there, Phil. But no, the pleasure is mine. It's great to be with you. Big fan of you. Jason, great to see you. And I've just been looking forward to it. I was so thrilled you invited me on again.
Well, I before we get started on this week's event and some of the golf questions we have for you, I know your opinions on Live Golf, but I need to know live on the air your opinions on Live Golf stealing the Fairway to Heaven name. And they won't respond to any of them. They respond to every single bot there is out there, but they won't respond to me on stealing the name.
I think you need a heavyweight attorney, probably not the PGA Tour's attorneys, because has been working too well in their negotiations with Liv. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a great name, and it does sound like something Liv would do.
Jason, I know you got a question you want to get started here with Len, so I will let you dive right in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of getting into the DFS side of it a little bit more. I'm kind of interested. Obviously, I read your articles that you post every week, and I see you commenting on Twitter and things like that. But I just kind of want to dive into your process a little bit. Like, how do you come up with the plays that you play, and where do you start each week, I guess?
Yeah, there's no mystery to it. I think I probably do what a lot of people do. It's just a lot of hard work. The first thing, two things to start out with are who's played well at this course before. I think that, of course, it matters. It's certain guys, certain courses fit their eye, fit their game, whatever. How they're playing now, certain skill sets. Look at the stats, like this week's course, Wells Fargo, very long, big hitter, long iron play, really everything this week. This is a tough one in that regard. But it's just looking at a lot of guys and trying, and there is a little bit of feel to it. There is a little bit of feel. You want to let the numbers tell you where to go, but sometimes we just have an inkling about somebody we like or somebody we don't like, and sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story, and we just have to adjust like that. But really, it's just work. It's just a lot of legwork, like I'm sure everyone else does. I'm sure like you guys do.
This year has obviously been a lot different with the elevated events and the changes to the PGA Tour. Have you changed your strategy at all during these smaller no-cut field events that they've added? What's this, the fifth or sixth one this year? Because that is, I've had a struggle for this season, but most of my struggles have been coming these weeks of these elevated events where, that the ownership is out of control for certain guys. Obviously, no Scottie this week, but in general, have you changed any of your philosophies on weeks like this?
Yeah, I think when there's a no-cut event, you can be a little bit riskier. In these smaller events, I think a lot of them are won by the better guys. Granted, Scheffler's been winning almost every one of them, so yeah. But I do like, I like to play the better guys, the top guys, and this is another week where I think it will come from a top guy. And you have the luxury of dipping into the 6,000s, knowing that you're not going to get a miscut. You're going to get 4 rounds from everybody. So are all your opponents and everything. But, get to the weekend, hope for the best, maybe get a guy climb up the leaderboard a little bit. But I think that gives you a little more flexibility because there's nothing worse than getting killed on Friday and knowing you're done.
So am I not taking enough chances then? because I don't like I don't know. I'm really torn on like sticking to what has worked for 4+ years to change in that strategy. But obviously, it's not working. So I definitely need to take some more chances. I know you have a lot of success picking 6K golfers.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty small sample size. What are we, 12, 14 tournaments? If you've been doing something for years and it's been working, I'm not telling you that your process is wrong or anything. It could just be, it's been a crazy year with a bunch of long shots winning and then Scottie Scheffler winning. It's just, it's like Scottie Scheffler and the Seven Dwarfs and all the guys who were winning earlier in the year. So it's been kind of a funky season. And it has been hard. I don't think this requires a big overhaul. I know we all get antsy and anxious, and if we don't win, and even one bad week, but if your process has been working for you, yeah, these tournaments are a little bit different. There's more of these smaller fields, but they're about to go away. This is what, the 5th or the 6th one, and there's only 2 more. I mean, Grant, we're a long way into the season already. They're going to be done by August, and we got 3 more majors. But they do want to front load the signature events to get the regular tournaments toward the back end, to give all the guys chances, the lesser guys chance to make the playoffs, get it in top 125, top 75, things like that.
This is a little bit off topic, but I kind of wanted to ask you. We talked about it a little bit before with the Live versus PGA. What are your thoughts on Taylor Gooch getting the invite to the PGA Championship?
I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I mean, I guess technically, if you said, would you like him in or not like him in? I guess I'd not like him in, but it'd be kind of fun to see him in and then, face plant. He hasn't had the greatest success in the majors. He was in like 3 of them last year. He missed 2 cuts. He didn't do well at the at the Masters. So I don't think he's, and he's not playing as well in Live this year as he was last year. He's still one of the better guys, but he is certainly going to be a focal point. I'm very interested to see who they pair with him. I'm always very interested to see who the Live guys get paired with. There are now 16 of them. They're not all going to go with one another. Pretty darn sure Tiger is not going to be with a Live guy, but yeah. So I'm interested in get your popcorn for a bunch of this stuff.
You said 16 Live guys. There could have been 17. Didn't I see Louis Oosthuizen decline the invitation to play in the PGA Championship? And like that was kind of like, yo, wow. Like, here you go. Wow. Here's a free gift, and we're not going to take it.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stunner. I mean, I don't know what his commitment is. But it is nice that he was invited because he's been a great champion. He's been a major champion, and he was one of the Live guys who went out and played other tournaments. He, in South Africa in the fall, he was there. Dean Burmester there, big South African contingent. If you're going out and he's about 130th in the world or something, or maybe Burmester is, but Oosthuizen has been trying, for lack of a better term. And so, it would have been nice to see him. He's a good player, but it's got to be a hell of a commitment to turn down the PGA.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to this week's Wells Fargo Championship. And obviously the top of the board took a big swing with Ludwig Oberg, withdrawing. Hopefully it's not a serious injury. Hopefully he's there for the PGA next week. Obviously you got Xander at the top of the board, very popular play. Rory, I want to get your thoughts on Rory because we are not that far from last year when Rory McIlroy went from May to August with 10 straight top 10s, with a victory. He was playing well, and he's just not been the same this year. I know he won at Zurich. We talked, Jason and I, last week on this show that maybe Zurich, but not just the Zurich win, but the fun he had and the fun afterward, maybe that takes some pressure off of him. Are you ready to say Rory, not because he won Zurich, but are you ready to say maybe there's a slight turn coming in Rory's game this week, and maybe he's a guy who's had great success here, and now he's having fun. He's come to a course that he loves to play. Are you ready to turn the page on Rory McIlroy yet?
I think I have to consider him this week. I think we all have to consider him this week. Now, these next 2 weeks are Quail Hollow and Valhalla, and he's had great success at both tracks. He revamped his entire schedule this year to play more leading up to the Masters, and it's been a disaster. It didn't work. It didn't happen at all. And so I was actually a little surprised, because he was playing more before the Masters, to then go ahead and play the Zurich Classic. But I agree with you guys. He just seemed to have a joy to him that we haven't seen at Rory for a long time. And there was so much live stuff when he was the punching bag of live and the point person for the PGA Tour. I'm not going to apologize for anyone, but because Rory has a pretty good life, and so, but it can't be easy the last couple of years for him. And now to see Scottie Scheffler clearly usurp him as the best player in the world. But he did have a joy to him at the Zurich. He played with Shane Lowry. That's obviously not going to be the case this week. But he seemed to have more fun on the golf course than he did in a long time. And I think that could transfer over to this week. And the fact that Scheffler and Hochberg aren't there can't hurt either.
So where are you going at the top of the board? Are you going to start your lineups with Rory this week? Or are you thinking, I know a lot of people are going to be playing Clark. Obviously, everybody plays Xander all the time. But are you going to be starting with Rory?
I hate to be this guy. I was talking with Keith Stewart on our RotoWire rundown earlier today, but I really like all three of them. I really think that the winner is going to come from up high. If we look at the last 5 tournaments at Quail Hollow, the Wells Fargo wasn't there in 2022 because it was a President's Cup year there. They moved. 2020 was the pandemic, but the last 5 winners have been Wyndham Clark and Rory McIlroy and Max Homa, Jason Day back in 2018 when Jason Day was really still a stud guy, and the 2017 PGA with Justin Thomas. So those are 5 big boy guys winning this golf tournament, and no marginal guys in there. I mean, you could sort of say that Wyndham Clark was, because he wasn't a known entity as he is now. That was last year's Wells Fargo was the start of his, incredible year that he's had, but he was on the verge of that. So I think a top guy is going to win this week, and a bunch of them are going to be on the leaderboard. So if you want to start your lineup with Rory McIlroy, who probably has a better chance to win than Xander Schauffele, because Xander Schauffele never wins, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, it's very tough to play an 11-5 or whatever Xander is and not get those first place bonus points.
No, I have personally made the decision that I'm going to avoid those 3 top names.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where the Hochberg ownership, I mean, according to Fantasy National, who is a partner of our show here, fantasynational.com, make sure you check them out. And if you sign up for one of their packages, let them know you heard about it right here on Fairway to Heaven. With the ownership, he's still got projected 10% ownership. So there's a lot of people that haven't, made their adjustments yet. I'm looking further down, and not even at the top of the 9K board. I'm looking a little further down to some guys that are getting some, lesser ownership. And it's a place where I think I could take a chance. It looks like Collin Morikawa might have, in his last couple of events, taken some positive steps in the right direction with his game. I mean, we're not that far off from him winning the PGA Championship and being a major victor. 9,300, Collin Morikawa, he's projected well below 10% at this point in ownership. That's where I'm looking to start my card. Not saying I don't want to take chances in the 6K range, but I'm looking at maybe going 2 or 3 9K guys in that Collin Morikawa range, and then looking into the 6K range to bounce out my lineup. Give thoughts on Collin Morikawa at this course or this week? Is that a worthy place to take a risk ownership wise, or being different in your lineups?
I don't think you could. I think a strategy of like 3 $9,000 guys and is a viable way to go. When I say guy, I think someone from up top is going to win. I'm not saying top 3. I'm maybe top 12 or something. I think the winner can come from in that group. And Collin Morikawa, I would put in that group. We've seen that putting really matters this week, which makes it a really tough week because you've got to be a long hitter. You got to be a great iron player. You're going to miss greens because there's such long approach shots. So you got to be a good scrambler. To make it on top of that, you have to be a good putter. So it might be hard for Collin Morikawa to win. but I think he could be certainly a part of a lineup with two other 9,000s. And yeah, I could definitely see wanting to avoid the 6,000s because I don't see them winning. But but I think you could catch one or two who might get into the top 25 or something like that. So no issue at all with Colin Morikawa and some other 9,000s.
Phil, it's funny that you brought up Morikawa because I was actually going to bring that up at some point today. I've seen what you've seen. He's looked a little bit better. His results have looked a little bit better, at least. His stats are still just like mind blowing. Like his best part of his game is obviously his iron game, which has not been good. And obviously, like Len said, with his putting, like he's hit and miss with the putter. We've seen him get hot a few times, which is when he usually wins. But we've seen him a lot more often than not get hot and struggle a little bit. So I want to play him this week, and it's kind of funny that you brought him up first because like that's one of my biggest questions of the week. I saw the ownership. Obviously, we know he can win the big one, so that's not a question at all. But like, is this all like real, or is it's just weird that how stats don't match up? I guess is the way to put it.
He's clearly not playing as well as he was statistically. His iron play, which was, he was ranked second or third or in approach or something. One thing I saw at the Masters was that, I mean, probably for everybody, I mean, Scottie Scheffler just does not give an inch. And you've got to be so good and so precise and maybe take a chance where you normally wouldn't if there wasn't Scottie Scheffler playing so well. So that might free him up this week. It might free up a lot of guys this week that, there's no Scheffler there. I just can't imagine what it's like to play again. Imagine Tiger Woods is not back in the day. Tiger Woods is not in this tournament. You just feel so much like you have so much of a better chance. So I think that was playing into his head a little bit. And maybe you've got to play your iron play. You got to play your iron play even better because your putting is so bad that then the iron play suffers.
I'm just thinking. You said could he win or not? Whatever. If I'm starting my lineup at Colin Morikawa at 9,300, this is kind of a theory question, and his ownership is below 10%, in my mind, he doesn't have to win. He could finish fifth place, and I'm still getting plenty of value there as long as he's making enough birdies throughout the week and avoiding the bogeys this week because it's obviously not a birdie fest this week. Is that a smart strategy or theory to not for every player, but sometimes to think about? It doesn't matter like that they win as long as their ownership is like if Xander's 28%. He's got to win. He probably won't win. Colin, not so much. Is that a smart way to think about it?
I think that is. Yeah, I think about that too. That certainly if a guy's price, there's a huge difference between what's Morikawa 93 you said and Xander 11.5. That's $2,200. You can do a lot of good things with that money. And yeah, if you can get a top 5 out of Morikawa at that price, that's pretty darn good, But really, those top guys, they almost need to win to justify having them in your lineup. Even a third or something like that, it won't get it done for you. So I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, value for the price.
All right. I mean, dropping a little further down the board. I mean, again, elevated event. I mean, it's a deep. I mean, outside of Scheffler and Oberg, everybody that qualified for this event is playing. So you get the reverse sticker price shock. You get some discounts. Is there any guy that you're looking at in the 8K range? Which I mean, there's a who's who. You got major champions in here: Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Is there a guy that you're really zoned in on in the 8K?
Yeah, in my article on RotoWire where I make my picks and put them in all different
every single week. I don't build my lineups till I read it.
Thank you. And in all different price ranges, I have two guys in the 8,000s that I've targeted this week, and that's Hideki Matsuyama and Justin Thomas, hoping they can make one putt between the two of them over the 8 rounds. If those guys were higher priced, they would be tough because they've really been putting very poorly. But in their own way, they've had good years. I mean, Hideki has obviously had a good year. He won Riviera, and he's played, maybe arguably the second best guy this year, maybe Wyndham Clark behind Scheffler, who could sort of nuance that. Justin Thomas is interesting. He's had some very high profile misses with. He missed the cut at the Players. He missed the cut at the Masters. He was actually playing great at the Masters for 32 holes, 5 off the lead, and then I have no idea what happened there. But he also has 5 top 12s this year. His approach play, his tee to green play, his numbers, I think he's top 10 in both. It's still very strong. What a crazy, and he switched his caddy, and hard to figure out, what's going on with him. But he does have 5 top 12s, and he's only 8,500, which is another 800 less than Morikawa and $3,000 less than Xander. Which is huge. And he was 5th at the RBC, different course and all of that, but still the same field. So those are 2 guys who I don't know if they can win, but being in the 8s, as you said, you can justify playing them, and you don't need a win out of those guys.
What do you make, kind of going down the board a little bit more, of the kind of Spieth Finau range? I know that Spieth has been so bad recently. Do you think, what do you think's wrong with Spieth, first off? And do you think a guy like Finau can compete at a place like this?
Spieth, we don't know how injured he is. He seems to have had a wrist injury for about a year now. And what was the tournament a few weeks back? I don't know I remember which one, where he said a tendon popped out of his wrist.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's medically possible, but it doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound helpful, especially for a golfer. So he just, Jordan Spieth is a guy, and it happens in every sport, where they were great champions, and they're just not that great anymore. And we let go of it slower than some other guys. He was the golden boy, and he had 3 majors, and he was, and he's so likable, but he just has not played very well lately. And he'd go for the career Grand Slam, by the way. He has his own thing. Rory does it at the Masters, and Spieth has it at the PGA. So that would be
wild,
legendary, and career cementing and all that. Tony Finau, another guy, can't putt, 5th or 4th or 5th in approach or something, still has great approach numbers, but terrible putter. But he hasn't had the results. He was a top 10 machine at the majors. He didn't do it at the Masters. So something else is there, that because Hideki can play very well without putting, and Justin Thomas can get up on the leaderboard without putting, but Tony Finau, other than the second at Houston, really hasn't. So he's not high on my list this week.
All right. What I mean, we don't have a heck of I promise you I wouldn't take up too much of your time.
I'm good.
But you
I'm
do a great job at covering the bottom of the board. And we've talked about ways to avoid it this week. But again, even at the bottom of the board, there's guys that have won this year on the tour. There's guys that have had success in this event at the bottom of the board. I've got a couple names starred. I want to know if you've got 1 or 2 names that'll be in your article. I believe your article comes out later today or tomorrow morning normally, right?
It's out. It comes out.
It's out. Okay, sorry. I thought it was Wednesday mornings it came out. My apologies.
No worries.
Is there a name that you really, really like in this 6K range, or even the very top bottom of the 7K range, that is you're very confident will have success this week?
In the bottom of the 7s, Harris English, the guy's there. He's one of the most unassuming guys. He doesn't do anything great. He does everything very well, which is a pretty good guy to have on this golf course. I think he has 7 top 25s in 11 starts. His price rarely goes over 7,500. It's never in the big events. He might even be not even be a little bit lower for the PGA with some of the live guys coming in now, and probably a bunch of live guys could push him down even more. But he's just always there. I mean, this week, and I'll be looking at him at the PGA. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between Quail Hollow and Valhalla, except maybe the rough at Valhalla. So I like him. And yeah, guys in the 6,000s, who you mentioned, 2 guys who have won this year, who are in my article. Austin Eckroat, great iron player. Maybe not ready to take the leap into a signature event and be there. He won the Cognizant. It wasn't a huge field, but he had some guys he was going against. And Matthew Pavone, who, he came out of nowhere and didn't even do much in Europe in his career. And he comes over here and then he wins at Torrey Pines, which is another long, hard golf course. And keep waiting for the clock to strike 12 for him. But it's nowhere near 12. It doesn't, interesting thing I found about Matthew Pavone in researching my article this week is he's the only guy on the PGA Tour ranked in the top 20 in strokes gained approach and strokes gained putting, which are two pretty good things to be top 20 in this week and pretty much every week. So, you can't fake that. So he's only $6,500. You're getting 4 rounds out of him. He was 12th at the Masters. My goodness. We can only go by what's happened before, but he seems to have been answering every call so far this year.
No, you're pretty spot on. I had Harris English as one of my favorite plays this week, so I love hearing that. Eckroat was on my maybe list, and Pavon was on my low usage rate list there. So I like to know that we're on the same page. It makes me feel a little smarter when I'm thinking like the pros.
Well, I don't know about that. Sometimes if I see too many guys, thinking the same way, I actually do this. If I like a guy and then I read other people as well, and I see too many of I see the guy coming up in too many places, I go, we're not all going to be right. Yeah. And I will go away from that. I don't, there's no information there. There's no statistic to tell you that, other than not everyone is always going to be right. And if too many guys think a guy is good, I mean, we're not talking Scheffler here. I might go in a different direction because it doesn't happen.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that's what I've been doing. I've kind of used other shows and a lot of shows in general. I listen to a lot of golf podcasts, and that's kind of why I listen to other podcasts to see where the crowd's going and see where I can kind of pivot. It's kind of become that same thing for me. Like if every show's talking about Justin Thomas, well, maybe I can find somebody else in the 8Ks that I can use instead. It's funny that you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too many things this week. I still have some reading to do. Even, I don't have the luxury of seeing too many things before my article comes out, and I don't want too many things to, poison my research and stuff. I don't want to, pivot on what other people are doing, but later in the week, if there's a game, I might have between two guys. I go, everybody's picking this guy. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I want to clarify. I don't make my decisions based off of what other people say, but it's good to know that the thought process, is in the same place, because at least it makes me understand that I'm thinking the right way when I'm breaking down these golfers.
Yeah, and getting back to what you were saying at the beginning, at the top of the show, it's all about the process. It's really hard if your process is good, you have to continue on that path. It's not going to work every week. This isn't an exact thing. These are athletes. We don't know if they got a bad night's sleep the night before, they got a bad mattress in the hotel, they got food poisoning, they caught a bug or whatever. And it happens. But if you do the work and you do have your process and it's proven right in the past, I wouldn't change that just because the results are bad for a week or even a few weeks or anything like that. But you have to do the work.
Again, guys, we're talking to Len Hochberg, senior golf writer for RotoWire. Obviously, one day we'll be in the Hall of Fame of DFS writers right here, 3-time DFS Writer of the Year. One final thing I want to ask you. It's something that Jason and I have spoken about a lot, and you've mentioned Scottie Scheffler's name a lot, even though he's not in the event. Obviously the PGA Tour, it's seen a little decrease in popularity, in ratings. There's a lot of controversy and stuff like that, and it needs something to save it, so to say. Sounds a little cliche the way I said it. Scottie Scheffler's not going to save golf, is what Jason and I keep saying, because he's boring. He goes about his business. He dominates, but he's not that, face that can carry an organization or a sport. What, in your opinion, can save, if it needs saving, so to say, the PGA Tour? Is it somebody stepping up and being a villain? Someone stepping up and toppling Scottie Scheffler? Is it a live PGA rejoining forces like they say they are? What is it that would save the game or bring it back to where it was a couple years ago when the ratings were going through the roof?
Yeah, I think what people are upset about now is the money and the greed. And the live guys went for money, and now the PGA guys want to get money to stay. So it's just sort of distasteful because these people, many of them were generationally wealthy even before. And so when is enough enough? And it's very hard to root for those guys. But I would tell you though that even though Scottie Scheffler is pretty vanilla and not the most exciting guy, if he wins the PGA and goes to the U.S. Open with two majors, and so I think if I hear people after we won the Masters, and I hear on other shows on the radio, if I'm just in the car and listening and stuff, and non-golf shows, and guys are bringing up Scottie Scheffler. And if he can win, I mean, he'll never be as dynamic as Tiger Woods, but if he can really dominate, I don't know, 50%, 60% of what Tiger did, I think people would be very interested. What did Scottie do? What did Scheffler do? What's going to happen? And I got to tune into the U.S. Open, got to tune into the PGA. And if he is going for the Grand Slam at the Open Championship, well, so I think greatness is never going out of style. And also he is really very humble too. I mean, he's making a ton of money, but he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't or anything like that. He just, with his high school sweetheart, he's about to have a kid, skipping the tournament to be with his kid, the honorable thing to do. So he's a likable guy. And if he does great things, people will tune in.
Jason, you got anything else for Len here before I let him go?
No, I think that's good. I really appreciate him coming on, and obviously the
Len, I greatly appreciate your time. And guys, make sure if you're into golf in any form, you're following Len. Literally one of the best to do it. Go-to articles. I listen to your shows when you're on Sirius XM all the time. Really, one of the reasons why I got the Sirius XM, fantasy, channel programmed into my car is for you and a few other people that I have to listen to on a regular basis. So it's not just pumping up for a guest. It is always an honor when I get to speak to you on this show or even on social media, Len. I greatly appreciate your time.
Your words are too kind, and I love coming on with you. I love interacting with you on Twitter, and I love this conversation because I'm just thinking as I'm about to exit here that you guys made me think, and I enjoy that. It made me take some angles and take some thought process. So you guys helped me as well. Greatly appreciate being here.
Even though you're not a Philadelphia sports fan. I said all that positive stuff, even though you don't like our Philadelphia sports teams.
Well, I'm a New Yorker, Brooklyn born, so I would be whatever the opposite of a Philadelphia sports fan is would be me. And that was a nerve-wracking series. I know it was hard, so I'm not going to give you any crap for that, but I will tell you that my son, who's 11, has just become a basketball fan in the last year and really didn't have a team. And I started dragging him to sports bars or whatever to get dinner and watch the games. And he's now a Knicks fan, and we now watch every game. So the sports, what a great thing to bring me and my son closer together in that regard. So regardless of Knicks Philly, it would have been Knicks anybody.
That was like the Eastern Conference Final there with our Sixers versus Knicks. So we'll leave it at that right there. That's how it felt to us Sixers fans. Again, everybody, Len Hochberg, thank you very much for your time, Len.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Thanks. Again, guys, Len Hochberg. Let me change that background real quick, Jason. Jason, any thoughts real quick before we get back into the action on things Len had to say there? Anything stand out to you?
Kind of what we've been preaching all along. I think the game theory side of it. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, just because 10 podcasters say Justin Thomas, I just keep using him as an example because I've heard him on a lot of shows, but just because 10 podcasters say Justin Thomas is a good play, make your own decision. And sometimes it's better. Sometimes you can find a guy that nobody talks about, like Morikawa, where you could find a huge advantage if you finish his top 10 or top 5. So make your own decisions, even though you're listening to other people, is my advice.
Guys, real quick, like I said, we had Len on there, so I got to get to some bills here. I got to pay some bills. I got to do some advertising. We're going to get back. We'll do the rest of our normal show. We'll go through some more names. We'll pick our lineups and one and dones and stuff like that. But real quick, we're brought to you here by Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work, in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, call David R. Cherry at the Cherry Law Firm. He's here to fight for you and get you what you deserve. Dedicated, well-established personal injury law firm built on the promise of aiding the seriously injured throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Give them a call, 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let them know you heard about Cherry Injury Law right here on EOP and Fairway to Heaven. Also, make sure you guys go out to, if you're in the Philadelphia area, the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar live this Saturday for a Phillies pregame and postgame on-location show starting at 2:30. We're giving away 2 tickets to the Phillies game on June 28th. About 10 or 12 of us EOP guys will be at the bar shaking hands and kissing babies. So make sure you come on out. Streetlight Kitchen and Bar. You laughing there at that one? That's what we do. When I say that on Trending in the AM, Jason, I get laughed at so much in the comment section for shaking hands and kissing babies. Even though if I said shaking babies and kissing hands, I'd get in even more trouble.
Then you go to jail for sure. Yeah. So
I might go to jail for saying kissing babies too.
That's right.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So let's get back to it. We covered a lot of names, and we didn't get to give our opinions too much. We really wanted to listen to Len there. But your thoughts on Xander, Rory, the top of the board here this week. I really am considering passing over all these names. I try to build one lineup with my outrights, and Xander is one of my outright bets, but I don't know if I will do that this week or not.
It's funny that you mentioned that because while I was driving home a little while ago from work, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, am I crazy that I don't think there's that much of a difference between the guys in the 9Ks and the 10Ks? Yeah. I feel like the winner, Clark has proven obviously big game hunter, kind of like Brooks Light almost.
He's flipped something there.
Yeah. So obviously if you're talking guys like Homa, is he that much more likely to win than Homa, even Morikawa, like guys like that? It makes you think. And then I thought Len brought up a good point, is Xander's price. It almost like prices himself out of like a play for me, just because at 20 some odd percent ownership, whatever it is, you said 28, I think, right? That just seems so high for a guy that doesn't win and is $11,000.
Yeah, he's at 22.5 right now at the start of the show on fantasynational.com. So I don't see the need for it. You know what I mean?
If you're 11K plus, I better be damn confident that you have a good shot to win.
Right. Now, I don't think I bet him to win. I think he can win. He's played really good. I don't think there's a lot of how do I say this the right way? I'm not super confident that he's going to win, but I do. I texted you earlier this week that, I had somebody sign up. There's links to my DraftKings referral thing in the description of the show. And I had somebody sign up, so I got a $50 free bet. I had to use it this week, though. Like I wanted to save it for the PGA Championship. I couldn't. I had to use it this week. I used it on Xander Schauffele, top 10 at plus 105. I'm super confident that can hit that $50 free bet on that. Winning, I don't know. I think, like Glenn said, someone from 9K and above probably wins this event. Xander, sure, he could win this very well.
Could. Yeah. But to kind of go back to what I was saying before, is like, I don't feel like if I'm going to play DraftKings that there's that much of a difference between somebody like Xander and even Thigala, who's at the bottom of the 9K range. Like obviously Xander's been awesome. I'm not taking anything away from that, but if you're talking about like picking a winner, I'd argue that Thigala has more win equity than him. Even
Thigala doesn't have cheap ownership. He's pushing 20% ownership, so it's not like you're saving anything there. I want to talk to you about what I asked Len, and I brought up Colin Morikawa, who's projected at 6.7%. He mentioned Jordan Spieth's name for something else. Jordan Spieth is projected at 2% ownership in a no-cut event. You got a lot of big-time names that have very low ownership projections. What are your thoughts on just going straight the complete opposite of chalk and just building like am I crazy to even want to consider Jordan Spieth at 2% ownership this week?
For that particular point, I would not do that.
I know. 2% tells me maybe he withdraws or something. I know he's dealing with some injuries and lack of confidence. You got the PGA next week. But is it crazy to think that these guys, you can build lineups with just those guys?
No, but then it's weird because the ownership is it's weird because there's only 70 guys, 69 guys, right? So the ownership's more condensed than usual. We know that. But it's still, I was just surprised at how many guys 9K and above have really high ownership. Like that, it's like they're spread out. It's spread out. It's like it's not really landing on one or two guys. It's landing on like 8 guys.
Yeah, so, like you didn't see that when Oberg withdrew, you didn't see one person number spike up.
Right.
You know, who was it that withdrew a couple weeks ago and everybody went to I forget who it was in an event, and one person got all that ownership bump
Right. Yep.
and was almost 30%. Like, you don't see that with Oberg this week. You see it going a little bit to everybody in the 9K and above range. I don't know. I'm still torn. I feel like I'll probably play a pretty decent amount of Colin Morikawa this week.
Mhm.
I think I play a bit of Patrick Cantlay this week as well. I know he's, hot and cold sometimes, but Cantlay's in that Xander boat. Guy that doesn't win a lot, but could win, but always is a top 10 finisher. And in this field, with his ownership, with Scottie not there, I think Patrick Cantlay can do pretty well.
I like the Cantlay play too, and $1,700 cheaper than Xander.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm more confident that Cantlay. Xander's been better, but I'm more confident that Cantlay can win. So it's weird. So I agree with you on that one too. We're not really breaking any ground here. That there's a lot of good plays 9K and above, but a lot of them are super chalky. I mean, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys at 20% or higher right now, over 9K. That's crazy.
Absolutely. But then there's guys that have just as good of a chance at winning as some of those guys. Look at Shane Lowry at 7,600. He's at 6.5% ownership projection right now. I mean, is there that, or Harris English, who he brought up, who I love this week at 10%? Is there that much of a big of a gap in win equity between Lowry and English and, say, Cantlay and Homa or Wyndham Clark or Tagala, some of those guys with higher ownership? Is there that big of a gap between the chances of winning this week?
No, there really isn't. That, which is great. I mean, obviously this is a strong event, so that makes it a little bit
absolutely.
different. But I mean, even like going back, I know we kind of are just piling on Xander, but it's like, if you gun to your head, if you had to pick between Justin Thomas and Xander winning a golf tournament, who would you pick?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that's
here, and you bring up Justin Thomas, and I know Len brought up Justin Thomas as well. His ownership confuses me a little bit because he's projected pretty high ownership considering his up and down last year or two that he's had. I think his ownership has spiked solely because he won the PGA here at this course in 2017. Do you think there's any theory to that or thread to that theory there?
And he's one of those guys too. It's almost like Spieth. I agree with that for sure. But then there's also like the point where it's like you see like even like a sliver of hope with Justin Thomas, and you're like, I gotta play him. Like he really hasn't been great. He started off the year good. He was horrible for a stretch, and then he had one good tournament. I think it was Heritage, right, where he played pretty good. It's like it's kind of been either all or nothing for him recently. So it's weird because it's like I think people get so pumped, and it's so extreme with him because he's a guy that people want to be good. I think if his name
I don't even know how to, play. I kind of feel like JT was on my board, but then as soon as I saw the ownership, he came off my board because I don't have confidence in. I'd rather play. Let's see. Siwoo Kim at 8,600, Alec Noren at 8,200. I'd rather go upper. Matthew Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's a guy that has just as much chance to win. His ownership is 13. Siwoo Kim's 11. Justin Thomas is 17. And there's a 200 price difference between those three players. Like, we talked about this off the air before the show, that I'm really like zoning in on playing all the low-owned guys versus the high-owned guys this week just because, again, no cut, that's got to play into it, right?
100%. And kind of to go back to the Justin point real quick is that I feel like if you looked at his stats, just his profile, like didn't look at the name or anything, I don't think you play Justin Thomas. I think people are because they're like, what is he, a 9-time winner or whatever? How many ever times he's won? Like major champion, 9-time winner, a guy that we know, like we've seen him in Ryder Cups. But if that was a stat profile of, somebody in the 70s, Corey Connors or Sam Burns or something like that, would you be that pumped to play him? I don't think people would.
Let's any other names that we really haven't covered yet today that you like. I've got one or two names in the lower range that I kind of want to throw out there, but I'll let you go here. Any names anywhere on the board, period, or down at the bottom that you really you're liking this week or you're trending towards considering playing this week?
One of my favorite plays in the whole board is Denny McCarthy at 7,300. He's 7.7% projected ownership right now. I just feel like these are the kind of events that he can really get it going. I mean, he plays good in tough fields, first off. He's a great putter. We know that. So I love him. He's probably my favorite play in the whole 7K range, and he's not shockingly high. I just feel like if you gave me a choice between a 20% owned Bhatia or a 7% owned McCarthy, I feel like I'm taking McCarthy. And that's just
Absolutely.
not – I don't know if I'm just crazy or – I don't know. Like, Batia's been good. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. He's been good, but, like, are you willing to play
No,
a
he
70?
was a guy. So Monday when I built my player pool or my potential player pool, Monday when I built my model, he was somebody I wanted to consider this week for sure, without a doubt. As
Yeah.
soon as I don't even take into account ownership till this afternoon because till at least a certain amount of people start building their lineups and those ownership numbers start to fall a certain way. As soon as I saw earlier today, you said he's at 20. Earlier today, he was only at like 16. So he went from like 10 to 16, now up to 20%. I can't get behind a 20% Pataya. I can't do it. Not at all.
I just hate playing guys that
Especially
are that
when Lowry's $100 more at
right.
6%.
I just hate playing chalk in that range, like 75K or 7,500 or lower. It's like I don't feel like there's that much of a difference between these plays, and I just don't think I want to play a guy that's that highly owned when I'm not super confident he can win.
So something I feel that's important. You brought up Denny McCarthy, and I love Denny McCarthy. I think he's a great play. Best scrambler in the field.
Yep.
One of the best, second best putter in the field. There's a stat that I zoned in on, and I starred the top 5 in the field in. And I don't know. I'm going to give you the 5 names. Well, there's 6 names because Hochberg was third on this list, but he withdrew, so I went to the next down. So these names, can you tell me what stat I'm talking about? Xander's 1 in it. Alec Noren is 2. Hochberg was 3rd, but so now Denny McCarthy's 3rd in it. Billy Horschel's 4th. Justin Thomas is 5th. Do you know what stat I'm talking about?
I would say scrambling.
Close. Bogey avoidance.
Okay.
Because this is not going to be a birdie fest. 20 under is not winning this event. I wrote it down somewhere, and I got way too many notes because we had a guest on. So let me see if I can find it here. But 8 to 11 under probably wins this event. Could be even lower than that. When it was the PGA Championship, it was 8 under. Maybe 12 under max wins this event. You need guys that are going to scramble. You need guys that are going to avoid bogey, avoid that 3-putt and whatnot. So bogey avoidance, that to me tells me Denny McCarthy's got to be a play this week. Because when you look at 3rd or 4th, 3rd now without Hochberg at bogey avoidance, 1st in scrambling, 2nd in putting, I mean, that just spells – I can't believe his ownership hasn't gone higher this week.
And that's a good point, too. I mean, I think I was kind of hoping it would be a little sneaky, that like scrambling and around the green would be a little more sneaky. Like that many people wouldn't be talking about it. But there's big greens. So I think people think like everybody's going to hit the greens. But the problem is this course is so long that the iron shots are coming from farther away, which means less greens are going to get hit here. So around, scrambling around the green play is going to be super, super important this week. So I was kind of hoping that not many people would realize that, but it seems to be kind of like making its way out.
I'm just looking for my grinders, like we haven't talked about him today at all because his form hasn't been fantastic this year. But this is like, I use Max Homa to talk about grinders all the time because he's won some bad weather events. He's won some tough events. I've got a core group of guys in my mind when we're at these type of events or these type of courses that have to be played. And Denny McCarthy is one of them. Max Homa, if he was in slightly better form or his ownership was slightly lower, I'd be playing Max Homa this week. I'm still on the fence about Max Homa, but I there almost needs to be a grinder stat. Shots gained grinding, which is basically cumulative of, scrambling, bogey avoidance and some other things there.
Yeah.
The grinders is what you need. And that's Denny McCarthy.
Which is probably why you've seen Homa win here twice. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's the kind of course where he wins, and it's like, I don't know. One thing I've always learned is play Homa on Homa courses, and this seems like like you said, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been horrible either. So
yeah, but so here's the question. So like you say, Homa's won here twice. Like he's also had a missed cut here, in 21. Right. How much you weigh the course history versus form is something in an event like this with the small field that I'm talking. If this was a 144 person field and there was a top 65 cut or whatever it is, I'd be all over Max Homa no matter what. But in this field with no cut, do I kind of worry about Max Homa as a smart play? I don't know. I'm still I can't say that I've eliminated Max Homa completely. Haven't built a single lineup yet, so I don't know. But Max Homa's what at 19.5 right now on Fantasy National. Don't know if I can get behind that.
But do you think he's more likely to win than Xander? Because I do.
Yeah, maybe a smidge. If Xander, if I put him at 50% chance to win, Homa's 55%. I don't put him up in the category of some of the other guys that I think can win. But yeah, I mean, a small window because of the course knowledge to win. And what's Xander's course history like here?
Second last year, I know that.
Second and a 14th here, the last 2 times
14th,
he played here. So still pretty good course history there for him as well.
Absolutely.
You got any 6K names or low 7K names you like? Because he mentioned a few. I like Chris Kirk because he's another grinder, experienced player.
Chris Kirk. Yeah. Chris
And
Kirk's
I got a name for you, and I'll let you get to your names in a second. We've already mentioned Spieth's insane, how insane it is to consider Spieth, and some of these other low-owned guys here this week. Am I completely insane that I'm considering Ricky Fowler?
No, that's going to be one of my plays, 100%. I was shocked that he was 7%. I thought he would be like 2%, like Spieth.
I thought he would be 2% too. I'm shocked at the 7%.
Really good course history here. He's been, I forget what the exact course history is, but it's been, I mean, okay, so T14, T21, cut, T4, T21, 5 years. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
And he had a really good result. I believe he had a pretty good finish at the PGA when it was here in 2017. I thought I wrote it down. I did not write down the top 10, but I want to say Fowler's name was in the top 10 when the PGA was here.
And he hasn't been good this year, but he's been better the last few weeks. So yeah, I mean, he has T30 at the Masters and 18th at Heritage. He hasn't been terrible. The one concerning thing with him is that how often he's losing this season on putting. Like he used to be a good putter. So that's a little concerning.
All right, what other names you got down there at the bottom of the board?
I like Brendan Todd. He has good course history here too. Kind of a plotter, kind of the opposite of what you think at this course, but hits a lot of fairways, plots his way around a little bit. And then my last guy was who's my last guy? I like Kitayama a little bit here, but Pavone was my one that Len mentioned him, but I like Pavone a lot this week. The dude just doesn't seem flustered. He's not fazed by being on the tour. So
I had Pavone on my list. Ekra was kind of like I was in between. I wrote a couple other names down here at the bottom. I wrote Pavone down. I wrote down the Napster. I mean, he was this close to winning last week. I know. Again, he's only had success in the easier tournaments field wise. He hasn't had great success in the strong fields this year yet. But Napster's kind of I'm teetering on the fence. Nick Taylor is a guy that I'm thinking about this week. Thinking about your guy Power this week, and I'm thinking about Emiliano Grillo this week as well.
I like all those plays, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like I could go with a lineup of Cantlay, Homa, Morikawa, something like that, and then play Nat, Pavone, Taylor, or any. Like I can almost go a borderline stars and scrubs lineup and take those chances this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if your guys are going to score. I mean, you pick those guys.
It's a bogey avoidance course, but you still need guys that are going to score. So you need guys that are going to score on the par fives. You need guys that are going to make a few birdies. Even if they make 2 bogeys, make 3 birdies to counteract them.
Yeah.
You still need those guys, don't you?
Yeah.
Is there a theory there that maybe people are all putting bogey avoidance in their model, that they should consider putting birdies or better in their model instead?
I did. I didn't put bogey avoidance.
I put DraftKings points and bogey avoidance in my model. Yeah. So 2 different things counteract each other there.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that.
Okay. All right, guys, real quick, we're brought to you by SherryTickets.com. Make sure if great moments don't just happen, they happen with you in the crowd. If you want to get tickets to the big event, no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Go to SherryTickets.com. Use promo code EOP10, EOP10 at checkout. Get you 10% off of course, on top of not paying any hidden fees. If you need a personal touch, call them 610-494-5050. SherryTickets.com. Remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. SherryTickets.com. Let's build a lineup. Let's do it. So you said last week I won last week. I had a terrible week. I profited. I didn't profit. I cashed in my week-long events a whole 10 cents. Does DraftKings need to do a better job and read the room a little bit? I don't need an email notification that your account has been credited 10 cents, do I?
No. You know what's funny? So I had a god-awful lineup last week, and I had Pendrith, which was funny. So I only had 2 of 6 make the cut, and my last pick, when I was like, oh, yeah, I got 7,400 left, I'm going to take Pendrith, and that ended up winning. So
that works. I had a 4 of 6 last week, but it was in the words of the customers that come into my pizza shop that are not from this country. They say no bueno. That was my lineup last week. No bueno. Every lineup I made last week was no bueno.
So we are officially tied at the moment right now. It is 7 apiece for us and 2 for guests. So
there we go. There we go. Next week, guys, stay tuned. We got Matt Miller from the Draws and Fades podcast. And I asked him on, Jason, for PGA Week for a specific reason, because for his podcast and the website, which I don't have the note in front of me that he writes for, he does also cover Live Golf. So he'll be here for the whole show next week, but he actually pays attention to the Live Tour or the Live Circuit. Is that what they're calling it? The circuit now or something?
Wow.
So when we have questions whether these guys on the Live Tour are in prime form or not, he's a perfect guest to have on because he'll know which guys are, playing well and which guys are not. So make sure you guys check that out. But our Building Our Lineups is brought to you by Fantasy Golf Pod. Make sure you check out Chad and the Boys. Wednesdays, 4:20, every single week, breaking down the weekly tournament. Just like we do, they just put a different spin on it. So, Jason, since I won, do I go first or do you go first? I forget every week how we do this.
Since you won, I go first.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I'm going to take a guy I know we both like just to make sure I get him. I'm taking Denny.
Denny McCarthy.
Yep.
That's fine. That's fine. You could do that. I'm going to start on the cheap end with my lineup. I normally go high end and then build low. I'm going to go the opposite way, and I'm going to go with Nick Taylor at 6,200.
I like that. Nick Taylor. Okay, I'm going to go. I haven't been doing well in this, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go Rory.
Rory. It's an interesting play. And again, we asked Len on Rory, like, is there a chance that no Scottie Scheffler in the field? He won his last time out. He's happy now. Maybe Rory goes on a run. Maybe Rory versus Scottie is the rivalry that we need on the PGA Tour, right?
Hey, strokes gained, happy now.
Yeah, strokes gained happy is a legit stat, 100%.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, so you go Rory. All right, so I'm going to stay at the bottom of the field here, and I'm going to go Ricky Fowler with my next pick. So I've just gone 2 6K guys, and it leaves me with 9,200 and change left. So I kind of feel like I like doing it that way because it gives me a lot of freedom at the top of the board.
You said you picked Ricky?
Ricky Fowler, yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go Chris Kirk.
Chris Kirk. I like Chris Kirk a lot this week. Another grinder, guy with lots of golf experience. Very good play. I'm gonna go with another grinder, guy I like on these type of events, and that is at 7,600, Shane Lowry. Okay. Now, man, well, I got 3 picks left, and I got 97.66. I'm liking that. I'm liking what that leaves me.
I'm going to go extreme value. My value play of the week, I'm going to go Brendan Tots at 6,500.
All right. Well, now I got lots of money left. So now there's no value left on my card. It's all top tier guys now. And we'll start with my favorite top tier guy. I know you guys were questioning his putting last week or his last event at the RBC. He did gain over 3 strokes putting. So maybe there's a little bit of confidence there. His iron play is getting better. Inconsistent, but still better. Colin Morikawa at 9,300 is my 4th play this week.
Colin Morikawa. Love to see it. All right, I'm going to go another star. I'm going to go Max Homa.
Homa. Yeah, no, I mean, I would not be shocked if Max Homa won here for the 3rd time in 5 years. I mean, I don't know how anybody could be shocked if that was the way it played out. Not sure. Not sure how you could be upset with that, one bit. Oh, man. I think because of where I'm at, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do now. I think I'm going to go Patrick. What's that?
How much do you have left per play?
I have 10,000 left with 2 picks left, but you already took Rory. If I take Xander, it drops me back down to the mid 8K, which actually is not the worst. But I'm thinking I could go Patrick Cantlay, but you took Max Homa already, so that takes him off the board. I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I think we go with, man, that means I got to take him. No. Can I change picks? Oh, man, I hate this. I hate where I'm stuck now. We'll go Xander. We'll go Xander and go for the big money play there.
So you did not pick Cantlay?
I did not pick Cantlay. I just, if I picked Cantlay, I'd be leaving like $1,000 on the board because I can't pick Homa, and I'm not taking Fleetwood this week. Although Fleetwood is a grinder, maybe Fleetwood's a play this week or viable. I don't know.
So last pick, I'm going to go with the man who faked a back injury last week to withdraw from the tournament, and I'm going to go Will Zalatoris.
He faked it.
Listen, if he would have played last week, played this week, that would have been next week would have been his 6th tournament in a row. For a dude with a bad back, you don't want to be playing the PGA Championship with 6 tournaments in a row.
Man, You just know my opinion on backs. Like I can't get
I know.
behind bad backs.
Especially a dude that's 24 and has a bad back. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm 43 and I got a bad back, but I'm 43. I got an excuse.
Right.
Like Willie Z is 24. Like, what's his excuse? Come on now, right?
Bad.
All right, so that's your lineup. What you got left on the table?
That gives me $0 on the table.
Well, you're using your full package there. That's good. Now I'm tough. I'm stuck here. I got 85 left. I could
always
go
use my-
JT at 85.
I always use my full package also, like how you just said that. Jesus.
Oh man, nobody clip that out, please.
And we just got
Nobody clip that out.
And this will be our last show. Sorry.
Yeah, we are done after this. I don't want to know what you use. All right, so we're gonna go with my. No, I can't do that. Can't.
No, I can't.
Hang on. I was gonna take Jordan Spieth here, but I just don't know if I could do Jordan Spieth. I don't. Full package or not, I don't think I can handle Jordan Spieth.
No, I can't send the show to my mom like I normally do. Damn it.
I'm gonna go Alec Noren with my final pick. I think that's my final play right there.
So
I actually was loving how my lineup came out, and then once I got to Colin Morikawa at 9,300, I think I took him a step there. I like the players I chose. I just don't like the combo of the players I chose on this lineup.
So last week you posted. Every week we're going to post our lineups on, and people can vote for who has the best lineup. Did people think you had the best lineup last week?
I will have to check. Give me a second here. Where is the Fairway to Heaven account? Hold on 1 second. There's Fairway to Heaven. Let me page down here. That was my other poll from today. Going down. That's other polls. I run way too many polls, just so you know, on social media.
I could probably check.
So yeah, my team was voted 62% likely to win. Yours was 38% likely to win. So
the fans were right. The people spoke.
Fans were right. I won. Fans are always right, just like me. So again, I got Nick Taylor, Ricky Fowler, Shane Lowry, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, and Alec Noren. You've got Brendan Todd, Will Zalatoris, Chris Kirk, Rory McIlroy, Max Homa, Denny McCarthy. I think your team's winning. No offense. I think you take the one game lead over me in the standings this week. I really do like your lineup. And that sounds like a lineup, give or take on Brendan Todd, that I might actually enter in one of my 20 max.
Keep Brendan Todd.
All right, where are we at the one and dones? I don't even know what happened to my one and done list.
Well, we didn't move since you picked Spieth and I picked who did I pick? Peter Quest. So they both missed the cut. So we did not move. So you are still up by a significant margin. Who do you want this week?
Significant margin.
You're up by about 800,000.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the names I took and the names I like. Like some of these names, like I would take JT this week. I would have chosen Jordan Spieth this week, even maybe, but I've already taken those guys. Let me look at this board one more time.
Isn't it ironic that the last 2 times we've done this, we each took Spieth and he missed the cut both times?
So it's a good thing Spieth's off the board then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that doesn't work out for us. I'm going to go back to one of my outrights from last week. Okay. I'm going to go to Jake Knapp. Jake Knapp, this close last week. Okay. This close to winning last week. I think Jake Knapp, I don't think Jake Knapp wins. I know I bet him 100-1 to win. I just threw a penny or two on him to win. Don't think he wins. But I think Jake Knapp, at the very least, is going to have 1 or 2 really good rounds and put him in a conversation for the top 20 or something like that, which then come Sunday, who knows what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go the opposite of risky. I'm going to go Rory. I know
it eliminates Rory from all the majors. You can't play him at the Open Championship now.
That's fine.
So
that's fine.
All right. I like it. Guys, again, real quick, you're watching Edge of Philly Sports, Fairway to Heaven. Jam-packed show later tonight. We got the Kelly Green Hour, Birds of a Round Table, Chalk Talk, Phillies Postgame Live. There are 4 more hours of content on this channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for Trending in the AM. Real quick, I got a very I want to touch on two things before we wrap this show up with you. One, I asked Len about this. Thoughts on the Live guys getting the invites, but more importantly, thoughts on Louis Oosthuizen declining his. Like all the Live guys want to be in the majors. One of the guys gets invited to the major and he declines it. Does that just blow your mind away?
It does. I actually didn't know that until you said that. So
Okay, yeah.
when you brought that question up, I was not aware of that. So
Mhm.
that is interesting. I wonder if there's something to that. Like, I mean, he's
He
the guy
said
that
his schedule was already full, so he couldn't make time for it.
my
He had
schedule's
prior
full,
commitments.
so I
Who
don't
has
want to go.
prior commitments and playing in the PGA
Right,
Championship?
right. Yeah, exactly. A prior commitment that's bigger than one of the 4 golf tournaments a year that you want to go to. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little weird. I have mixed feelings about it. I know that Gooch. I can't stand Gooch. I hate how he talks. I hate the way he
Absolutely.
talks. But I feel like it's good. It's some excitement. It's like we were kind of saying it about like a couple weeks ago about not having a villain, and he's kind
Yeah.
of like he's turned into like an ass.
But he's a
So it's
bad
like
golfer. Does that really make you a villain if you're a terrible like he is not going to make the cut next week at the PGA Championship. So does
it
that
sucks.
villain it's like the at a TV show or a movie, you think the good guy got the villain and caught him, but
Yeah.
really he was just the puppet for the real big villain
Right.
down the line. You know what I mean? Like Gooch doesn't move the needle as a villain, as a hero, as anything to me.
Well, and it sucks because last year he was so good on Live. So like last
Yeah.
year would have been the year for this to happen, not this year. It kind of sucks, but I
All
don't
right,
know.
one final
I think
question. You're a father, you know? You've got a son, Jax, fantastic kid, love the kid, okay?
He's gonna be
Scottie
7.
Scheffler's not playing this week. What?
He's gonna be 7 in 2 days.
Oh my God! Happy birthday, Jax! Big Fairway heaven. No, I need Jax's FaceTime. I will FaceTime Jax on his birthday. You're a father, okay? You've got a son, obviously. Big moment having that first kid.
Yeah.
Scottie Scheffler isn't playing this week because his wife is due this week. But what if the baby doesn't come this week?
Right.
Does Scottie Scheffler withdraw from the PGA Championship to be at his son's birth? What do you think? Or his kid? I don't know if it's a son or a daughter, but
It's a son, I think. He probably does because Scotty's just different than the other guy. Like,
yes.
he probably does. Somebody posted a thing the other day that said that it feels like Meredith has been pregnant for 49 months, which I kind of feel the same way. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
she's been almost having this baby for like 2 months now.
Yeah, I think it's because everybody keeps thinking, like Len brought up, what if, Scottie wins the PGA and then going to the US Open, being chasing the season Grand Slam. Like, that's a great story. Sure.
Yeah.
I tried to parlay Scottie Scheffler to win the next 3 majors, and DraftKings wouldn't even let me parlay it, which is insane because they must not want to take that action.
Right.
I think Scottie Scheffler would withdraw as well. I think it's crazy, but I think he would.
He's just a nice Christian boy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Whatever. Like, I'm not going to judge him if that's who he
No.
is. I'm not going to agree with it, but I'm not going to judge it,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think, and I didn't get to this question with Len, but, Rory, Xander, these guys at the top, we agree. There's only like 5 or 10 guys that have a real chance at winning. They all got to feel so much better this week with Scottie not in the field, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Like-
it's like not to compare him again with Tiger, but like if Tiger in his prime, if you're playing in a tournament and Tiger withdraws, you're like, whew, all right, cool. Like, yeah, it's definitely an advantage.
I haven't seen. Have you posted any bets yet this week?
I'm not. I made a couple. I don't have a
Okay.
ton of confidence in my bets this week. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, neither do I.
So hold on. Sorry.
Actually, I had confidence in one bet, and that was Hochberg at 12-1. But then he WD'd, so
I bet Clark at 18. That was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I bet Zalatoris at 35, which I kind of wish I didn't at this point. Hold on. Where's my? I'm sorry. It's coming up right now.
well, while you're bringing it up, so I got Xander at 10-1. Obviously, I mentioned I got Knapp at 100-1, and I got Tagala at 28-1. And I haven't once Hochberg withdrew, I didn't replace Hochberg in my betting card. I added the Xander top 10 at plus 105 with the $50 free bet that I had received. But that's it. It's a four bets. One was a free and 3 outrights, and that's all I've got.
So I did a Homa win with a Xander top 10 parlay at plus 4,500. Zalatoris, like I mentioned. I did Rory winning parlayed with Wyndham Clark top 10. That one was plus 2365.
That's sick that's not higher than that.
I know.
Man.
I know.
That's
I
so sick.
I did Fitz at plus 3,000, and then I did Lowry at plus 6,000.
Some solid bets there. You went higher than I did on the betting because, like I said, I really sat there when we got the news that Ludwig withdrew. I stared at that betting card nonstop, trying to find a place to spend because I'm trying to do the math in my head here. 70% of my betting budget this week went to Xander or Bear. So I had a huge chunk of money I could have moved elsewhere. And I'm like, I could pick 3 guys and split it up. I could pick one of the other top guys, bet heavy. I'm like, I don't have a good pulse on. There's like 10 guys that could win, but I think there's an equal chance almost for all 10 guys to win. So I couldn't really pull the trigger on any of them.
I just hope that Oberg is not actually hurt. That's my biggest thing right now. Like, I hope he's really not hurt long term.
Yeah. Well, long term, I think he's actually hurt enough to withdraw because it is a elevated event. Nobody wants to withdraw from them. I want to see if DraftKings update this.
I should just say I hope he's not seriously hurt.
Knee injury. It's unclear when suffered the injury, but after consulting with doctor, so it hasn't really updated with any new information. So there's very minimal information on that. I mean, I kind of was feeling like he was my favorite play this week. He was probably going to be my favorite bet next week at the PGA Championship. And now I feel like once you say knee injury, I can't play. Can't get behind you till I see you play. Again.
Agreed.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up right there. Fairway to Heaven right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Again, guys, make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe button. If you want to go to Brazil to see your Eagles play the Green Bay Packers, check out phillysportstrips.com. They got great travel packages for all kinds of sporting events, but they are running a great package to Brazil. I know Jason's going because he's such a big baller like that.
I don't know what color I'm going to wear.
His favorite team in Brazil, the Eagles, right?
Listen, since you can't wear green, I don't know what color I'm going to be wearing, but we'll figure it out.
You can wear Lions blue if you want. We can't wear the Eagles green, but we can wear. Can I wear a green Fairway to Heaven shirt in Brazil? I don't know.
It's funny because both teams are green.
You picked 2 green teams. So I'm playing a city that doesn't allow green. Go figure. Guys, we're wrapping it up right there. Again, make sure you hit the like button, share button, subscribe, retweet. Again, a special shout out to Len Hochberg. Again, one of the best of all time. That is not me hyping him up. That is just a plain fact by being a 3-time Fantasy Writer of the Year winner. That just pretty much spells it out right there. So shout out to him. Make sure you guys check him out. Guys, we'll be back next week with another episode of Fairway to Heaven again with Matt Miller from Draws and Fades podcast. Guys, have a good night, and we'll see you guys later.